I'm a Fridays for Future activist in Belfast, which means we strike weekly for the climate at Belfast City Hall. More locally for the movement, this means campaigning for things such as raising awareness of our illegal levels of air pollution in Belfast. 1 in 24 people in Belfast die every single year from our air pollution. This means that we have the second highest air pollution rates in the UK, which is ridiculous. Another issue that this will affect us is sea level rise. As you know, we are an island nation, so this is a particular issue that will affect us. Most places such as Belfast, Derry, Omagh, Antrim, Newry, Carrick will all be uninhabitable by 2050. In 2050, I will be 48 years old, which just goes to show that this is not a problem for future generations. This is a problem for my generation, for our generation. This is something that we need to be working on now and isn't something that we can wait and we can deliberate and we can debate. The science is already there, the solutions are already there. We just need to enact them and make sure that our politicians are informed when they're making these decisions. An example of this decision would be a climate act. We really need a climate act in Northern Ireland. We have no climate laws whatsoever, and we're the only country in the UK that is in this position. We need to be changing, and we need to be changing quick. Our emissions need to be at zero well before 2030. We should be aiming for 2025, and if we can get there sooner, then we should count it as a win. As well as science, we also need to be taking into consideration climate justice. Our climate action needs to be completely intersectional. A large proportion of the people living in Belfast are working class, and so the climate crisis will disproportionately affect them. And in order to combat this, we need a just transition, which means that you convert jobs in polluting industries and retrain people into clean industries, so you don't just leave people behind. In terms of young people, yes, me and some friends do skip school every Friday, but we're not just doing it to skip school. We would have stopped a long time ago if that was the case. Next week will be week 58 in a row of us school striking for the climate. We're doing this to raise awareness to our politicians and to NI Assembly, and specifically to Edwin Putts, because we need to raise awareness of the climate crisis, and a lot of us are under 18, which means that we cannot vote in the decisions that will affect our future, and so we need to convince the adults voting on our behalf to keep our future and our present in mind, because we're the ones who have to live with the consequences of the decisions being made today. And we have to remember that individual change is good, every little helps. However, it is almost negligible compared to systematic change. 71% of global emissions come from just 100 companies, and so people telling you to just switch off lights and eat less meat, that's just greenwashing. It's not harmful to do those things, but if the people in power and the richest 1% keep doing what they're doing, then our individual isolated actions mean nothing.
I am a student youth activist, and I work mostly with Extinction Rebellion in Northern Ireland. As a young person, I think it's really important to advocate for environmental justice, because it is literally my entire life, it is my entire generation that are going to feel the brutal force, the ever-increasing destruction associated with climate change and caused by climate change. So there has been a significant impact on the mental health of young people because of climate change. And it's not just sort of laughable, oh, existential dread. It's genuine eco-anxiety. It's been given a name. And yeah, I mean, why is that surprising that the climate crisis is affecting young people's mental health? This is literally our futures being taken away from us right in front of our eyes. And it's terrifying, it's scary. I think a lot of people are drawn to activism for the environment because of this fear. It's not because we want to be rowdy or we want to cause disruption. It's because we're scared. We're genuinely terrified. The measures being taken to tackle climate change are not adequate, they're not consistent, and most of the time when legislation is brought in, it's not followed through with, it's not taken seriously. This needs to be at the forefront of our social mindset. This is an important future altering issue, and if we don't take action now, it's just going to get worse. We've seen governments all over the world act on the science, act on the facts, and put in place measures to keep people safe, to save people's lives with COVID-19. But we haven't seen this same level of dedication or urgency when it's come to the climate crisis, despite the fact that there are decades worth of research done showing that this is a serious threat to humanity and to all life on this planet. On an individual level, the most effective way that you can actually try and personally bring about any element of change is to contact your local political representatives, get involved in a group where you can help. But ultimately, it is systematic change that needs to be implemented to try and actually mitigate the effects of climate change. We need the large polluting industries to pick up their pieces and clean up their act, because they're the main contributors to our global emissions. My call to action is to get Northern Ireland to announce a climate act. We are the only part of the UK that doesn't have one, and it shows the absolute ignorance and abandonment of this really important issue. Northern Ireland does not take the climate crisis seriously and does not deliver adequate measures or any real measures, to be honest, to try and mitigate the effects of climate change and global warming.
This is not an opinion or something you can debate on. The climate crisis is scientific fact. So our main challenge is getting NI Assembly to treat the crisis like a crisis, to listen to the science and then act accordingly on that science.